What's up, everybody? Brothers, sisters, psychonauts, and seekers of truth. It is Ananka, and welcome to my bazaar. Today, I have a 5 MEO DIPT chirp report for you. The title of this chirp report is Sitting in the Foxhole, and was submitted to Erowid in 2003 by the user Arjuna. With all that being said, let our story begin. The evening started with a mystical coincidence. It was Friday, and I had made up my mind to finally try some Foxy that had been given to me at a local fish show. I was going downtown to chill with a friend to see if he wanted to try it. As it turns out, it was his birthday. What better gift, I thought. We started the evening with a double tall Long Island and a slice of pizza at a local dive techno club. I was concerned about eating before dosing, as some of the information I had read advised against it. We waited half an hour after eating, just like swimming, got to avoid those cramps. And then we both swallowed 10 milligrams of 5-MeO DIPT at about 8:30 p.m. At about 15 minutes in, my friend decided to eat a Hot Pocket. I advised against this, as I have never had an experience with the substance before, and wasn't sure how a full stomach would affect the experience. At 30 minutes in, the first perceptual changes began to take place. I'd begun to feel jittery and speedy, while noticing a slight change in my ability to communicate verbally. I felt as if it took longer to formulate my sentences, and a small stutter seemed to develop. Also, around this time, I was becoming more empathic to the emotions of others. Being skeptical as to how far 10 milligrams would take me, we decided to take another 10. 15 minutes later, T plus 50 minutes in, I had begun to wonder if the other 10 milligrams was a mistake. The perceptual changes were becoming more intense. Streetlights began to starburst more vividly, and textures seemed sharper. The body high was beginning to become overwhelming, and I felt the need to sit. At this point, 1 hour in, I began to breathe deeply and proceeded with a centering meditation ritual that I often use in altered states to help me evaluate my spirit and my psyche. I was becoming amazed at how clear my inner perception was becoming. Contrary to some other reports, my body actually felt more complete. I did not experience any muscle spasms or tension. My whole body felt as if it was one complete structure, absent of its various parts. I was not a collection of muscles, bones, organs, and nerves. I felt as solid as marble, clear as quartz, and bright as a star. Immobilized in the chair I was sitting in, I continued to ride the wave, waiting for the next level. At about an hour and a half, I began to feel nauseous and began to cough excessively for what seemed like an eternity. I came very close to vomiting. So close that I could taste that bile, metallic taste in my mouth, and my salivary glands began to work overtime. I never ended up actually vomiting, but I had a feeling that if I did, I would have been shot up to a level 5 or 6 experience for a while. Content with the current level I was at, I just waited for this uncomfortable feeling to subside. By 2 hours in, the nausea was completely gone, and the cough had reduced itself to a manageable level. After walking off the nausea, I returned to my chair overlooking Broadway, one of our main streets through downtown. It was around 2.5 hours that the truly vivid and mystical experiences began to happen. I began to feel the ebb and flow of energy all around me, like a cosmic breeze. There would be this vast flurry of activity, like a rising tide. Friends came to check up on us, which was always followed by chaos, traffic, and random encounters on the street. But once all our friends left, the traffic would die down. The wind would stop blowing, and the street would become devoid of cars and silent all around. This made me realize that we are all susceptible to the currents of the universe. The slightest change in the cosmos creates ripples of energy that every physical and natural law here on Earth are susceptible to. 3 hours in, we were well inside the peak. The peak was very LSD-like. We hit a plateau and stayed there, with only tiny perceptible valleys for the duration. It had been a long time since I had entered any tryptamine space that was so similar to acid. It had reminded me of some of the fundamental lessons psychedelics had taught me. For the next 2 hours, I remember speaking of the concept of meditation on concepts. With enough concentration, I realized that it was possible to become anything. I decided to become peace. At this point, I felt something indescribable. It was as if I had decompressed all sense of self and became only that which my mind's eye had perceived as how peace should feel. I then did this with the concept of heaven and was awash with a bright white light and a feeling of completion. I was able to share this with my friend, and he was able to do as I did. He was able to become a singular being of whatever his consciousness wished. 5 hours in, the intensity began to wane. The sheer intensity up until this point had left me glued to the chair. I had been sitting in that chair for the vast majority of this time, save one trip to the bathroom. The only complaint that was logged by my friend was his body load and also his nausea. I attributed this to him eating after dosing. Hey, I warned him. At 5.5 hours in, I realized the trip was far from over. At this point, I went inside and decided to mellow out with a bowl of cannabis while listening to Tool's Opiate. The speaker would melt and move as he sang, and even though I've heard that EP north of 100 times, I've never heard it like that before. The pitch seemed slower, distorted and warped like a half-melted record. I also had this crazy idea that the true intent of the title track, Opiate, was not to be interpreted as a sarcastic criticism of organized religion, but that it was to be taken literally. Choices always were a problem for you. What you need is someone to guide you, like me. I always knew Maynard was God. This experience helped me to realize it in a way I never had before. We weren't completely down until 9 hours, at which point we proceeded to drink Bloody Marys and pop in the film Resident Evil at about 6 in the morning. After a refreshing drink, I slept peacefully and woke up to the standard tryptamine after effects that I'm used to. Fatigue, mental sluggishness, and a sense of light euphoria that permeated my existence. Contrary to some of the TCAL reports, and some of the negative effects listed on Erowid, I was pleasantly surprised to find most of them absent, with the exception of the nausea. I'd say that 20 milligrams might be too intense for people who are not experienced with the tryptamine family. Never ever try to eyeball your doses. A scale accurate to 1 milligram is an essential if you wish to play with research chemicals. I was initially given one 100 milligram capsule. If I would have swallowed that high a dose, when 20 milligrams did all of the above, I couldn't imagine where I would have ended up. But in all probability, it would have been someplace bad, like the hospital, detox, or jail. Please exercise caution, especially with research chemicals. With that said, these chemicals can lead to profound, life-changing experiences. Happy trails. All right, everybody. That is the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share with us your 5-MeO DIPT experiences down in the comments below. Check out the other videos and playlists on my channel, and I will see you in the next one, fam. Deuces.